It's Beth Simek, Bethsimek.
And can you tell me what your position is at the Arizona PTA?
I'm the president-elect.
Great. So I wanted to start off with some more positive things. I was wondering if you could tell me what some of the positive impacts you think are on high schoolers of using the internet and social media.
Well, I think some of the positive aspects of using social media for teenagers is that they have a greater opportunity to interact with each other. I know that interacting personally can sometimes feel awkward, whereas when they do so behind a screen, they can be a little more open about who they are and what they really think and believe. I think it's really nice when the kids end up going to different schools, they're still able to keep in touch with each other. When I was a little kid, if you moved, and unless you were really good at writing letters, that was pretty much the last time you heard from somebody. So I think social media is really a nice thing for them to keep in touch, not only with themselves, but up on current events too. I have a teenage son, he's 16. He uses social media constantly and is always asking me questions about things he's read on CNN or the latest ESPN updates or things like that. So I think it's really good for keeping up on cultural and the latest news and information.
Great. And so what do you think are some of the negative impacts or way that high schoolers might get in trouble using both of these things?
Well, coupling along with the fact that they can be themselves, sometimes they're not always their best selves when they put themselves out there. And sometimes they create fake accounts so that they can be nasty to each other, and that's not always a good thing either. So,
what about specific impacts on education, social media, and internet being used in the classroom?
I think using the internet in the classroom has definitely helped kids to be able to get the latest and greatest of information. Back when I was in school, you had to depend on the school library or encyclopedias or things like that, whereas with those things, you're reliant on whatever's been published. Whereas now you have the most up-to-date information that has been published and is out there, and you can also review multiple sources at one time, so you can compare and contrast the information that you're receiving.
What are some of the most important things about online and social media safety that you think parents should know that they might not necessarily be as aware of?
I think parents just need to be paying attention to what their kids are doing. Yes, you have great kids, and yes, your kids are probably the best in the whole school, but that doesn't mean that the kids that they interact with are. So staying up to date and knowledgeable about who kids' friends are, what they're doing on social media, not allowing them to just have free reign of what's going on and burying our heads in our own applications and Facebook and Twitter and things like that. We need to be paying attention and also communicating with them through their own social media channels. So just to kind of let people know, hey, mom's out here, dad's out here, we are paying attention. So it helps keep kids remembering to put their best foot forward when they're out there on social media.
Are there any lesser known websites or apps that you know of that kids have been using that parents might not be aware of?
I can't really think of the names of them off the top of my head. I know there's a couple of them out there, but I can't think of the names of them.
What are some of the best websites and apps you think are for high schoolers?
I know high schoolers are really into Snapchat right now, and that's their big thing. I know that they like some of the anonymity of Snapchat. They like the fact that the messages can disappear if they choose them to, or if they're not careful, they can send some information to somebody and it gets screenshotted and then it's shared with everybody. So it has its pluses and minuses, but I know kids really like that. They really like Twitter. They're very involved in those things. They tend to sway away from Facebook because their parents are on Facebook and their grandparents are on Facebook, and so Facebook isn't cool anymore. But Snapchat and Instagram and Twitter all seem to be really popular with teenagers these days.
What are some ways that you think parents can stay on top of all of the new websites and apps coming out? Because it always seems like there's a new one coming out every week that kids are latching onto.
Do their own research. Google is a great tool. It's not only great for kids to be able to research things, it's great for us to be able to research things too. Run web searches on social media sites. Talk to your kids about what they're using. Find out what it is that's interesting to them. Ask them about what their friends are using. Keep those lines of communication open so that you can continue to have those open conversations and your kids feel comfortable talking to you about things.
What are your opinions on monitoring software where parents can get very detailed information about what their kids are doing online?
I'm conflicted about monitoring software. I think it really comes down to the relationship that a parent has with their own child. If you're in a relationship with your child where you feel like you need to set that kind of information up, you're not sure who they're communicating with, then by all means, then that's something that has to be a parental decision and a family decision. I personally have a good relationship with my son, and I don't think that we need to have that type of software installed. However, if he is well aware that if there ever comes a time where there's a distrust between us, that can happen and would happen immediately. So I think it's just the type of relationship that you have with your kids and setting up those expectations of what you do want and don't want them doing on social media.
Do you have any advice for parents on setting rules for their children, mainly when they first give them their devices?
I think it should be a discussion between the two parties. What is the kid looking to do with their device? Do they actually know what's out there? How old is your child when you're setting up a device with them? I know there are a lot of younger and younger kids these days getting multiple mobile devices and are accessing social media. Have you talked to your child about what it is that you expect for them to do? Ask them what they want to do. Some of them just want to play games and just play Candy Crush or whatever the latest game is. Some of them really do want to get out there onto Facebook and start posting pictures and things. Having an open communication with what types of pictures are appropriate to be posting on social media sites, what types of information you should be sharing or not sharing on social media sites is really important. But it should be a conversation, not just a demand from one end to the other.
Are there any specific resources, websites, parenting books that you could recommend to parents who are looking to learn more about this?
There are a lot of parenting sites that can help with that. Arizona PTA has on our website, we have information about social media. You can go to parents.com for that parenting magazine. There are lots of them out there. Just find your choice.
Is there anything else that you want to add?
I think just being careful and staying aware. Parents need to really stay aware of what it is their kids are doing and not take their eye off the ball. It can be really easy for a kid to slip up and send a shot of a personal part over the internet, and the next thing you know, their lives are ruined and they can't get into a good college or things like that. So being aware and keeping that conversation going. How are things going? I see you're communicating a lot with this. Who are you talking to? What's going on at school, asking questions and not being afraid to ask questions, but not doing it in a way that's accusatory. Trying to just have an open dialogue really will make a difference between parents and their kids.
Has the Arizona PTA heard about cyberbullying happening in schools?
Oh yeah. We have a program called PTA and Me, and it helps to combat cyberbullying and help parents with recognition about what cyberbullying is and the steps that they can take to communicate with their child and their child's school to combat these things.
Are there any apps that you've heard of that have been specifically connected to these cyberbullying cases?
Well, all the ones that I've mentioned can sometimes have that occur with Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter. You get behind a digital device and suddenly you have a level of anonymity and you feel freer to speak your mind or be mean to people that you wouldn't ordinarily be mean to right to their face. And with the creation and of memes and all different kinds of photos and stuff, kids can get access to things and just be downright nasty to each other. So paying attention and having that open dialogue with your kids and not letting them shut the door on you as they are growing older will really help to keep parents in the loop of what's going on and to be able to help their children. And it's not necessarily always about protecting your child, because you do have to let your child learn how to protect themselves and spread their wings a little bit and become a person, but be there for them to help guide them along the way.